What is up guys, Kane here. So I decided to make a sort of a guide for every faction in the game. I will try to talk to people who also played different factions, their tips, and also talk about what units and how many you may need in the future, and the cost of each faction. Since most other videos I have made of the previous formations, they all kind of last just a few weeks and then they sort of expire. By that I mean an update came and then more or less made that particular formation a little less relevant. Still usable, but just that there would be better ones out there. Anyways, to begin, the current Inferno formation more or less should look something like this. Previously I had this formation with Imp instead of Evil Sorceress, but I was planning to get her for either my Xeron or my Dragon Meteor if it was a flop. And at 6 star, the domain damage is I think broken. If you won't be focusing any dungeon units, I don't think getting Evil Sorceress for Inferno will be any good. It's just temporary, since even if you remove so much accuracy of the units from her domain, units will still hit Demon who has over 1500 dodge, with half of their basic attacks, which is basically the same as before. Anyways, the Inferno formation should look something like 5 Infernos, and that is Devil, Efreeti, Pit Fiend, Nightmare, and Demon. Sometime in the future, Demon will be outscaled by other tanks. So if you have a second formation or something, I suggest you to not fully upgrade Demon's weapon. Level 80 and 4 star is enough for a temporary unit. However, most other SRs of Inferno will need their weapons similar, but most likely 6 star awaken. One of the reasons of that will be that Pit Fiend and Efreeti do have class changes, but that will require you to have 6 stars awaken, and 6 stars weapon for that class change version of those units to be actually strong. If you will not properly upgrade those, you will have to stick to the original version or the class change will not be as powerful as it could be. I could go into more detail, but that would require translating the skills of those class change units, and I do not have them with me on my new laptop, so they will be done sometime in the future. You can check all the weapons every unit has in this website our friend made. He goes by many names, but you can call him Fireball. Some things may be missing in this website, but pretty much most of the weapons are in here. Please keep in mind that these weapons can slightly change, meaning they can have a different number than it's written, or it can have a different effect entirely. But pretty much most of the effects stated in here are all correct as far as we know, but developers can change them at their own will. So you can use this as just your examples, but if the weapon or unit isn't out, you should not be 100% sure it will be the exact same effect as you will see or need. The core of this Xeron's formation will be the weapon feature on Devil. Now, Devil is countered by majority of the units that have been recently released, and more in the future, but his weapon effect will counter his counters. What I mean by that is that the Devil has a revival as the first star effect on his weapon, so in theory he just jumps, procs all immunities, dies, revives, and then jumps on the enemy backline without them having any more immunities left to defend against the Devil. Pretty much what Xeron's formation will be, and most of the units in this formation will have to be either buffers or tanks or something that will assist Devil to do his job better. I will show a quick glance of the awakenings that I'm using on all of my Inferno units. These, to my knowledge, are the best ones for many more cases than the other ones, since the other ones are just too specific or plainly weak compared to these ones. I think I have went over most of them, so there is not really any need to go over them again and again. Currently, from the release of this video, Inferno has 3 UR units: Venom Spawn, Abyss Lord, and Fallen Angel. All 3 of them perform different things, and all 3 of them will require to be 6 stars. Luckily for us, that is only 96,000 diamonds per 1 UR 6 star, and the releases of them are in about 6 or more months difference, so if you are a small spender, you can get 2 URs in 6 months, but free to plays will perhaps need about 4 months per 1 6 star UR, depending if he has a very tight belt or not. Unfortunately, we are not sure when and what times the other two UR will be released, but Abyss Lord is in the second rotation of the URs and Fallen Angel is in the third one, and one rotation is about 10 or 11 months time total, unless they happen to speed it up. That aside, weapons. Most of the Infernos will have their weapons, but the most important weapon is the Devil one, so if you are playing Xeron, you should have at least 200 Void Crystals saved and waiting for it to appear. Other things aside, that is up to you what you will want to do with the rest, since you will have 2 or 3 formations, so most of the weapon materials you may want to split up in terms of ranking them up. Level, I honestly think level 80 is a good stop and then focusing for another unit. But right now, since I reached the museum level 9 recently, the demon is able to survive something like one entire line or more, depending whether or not he is against the Hydra. So I want to check how much HP he will have at level 100 weapon and whether he will be immortal like a long time ago. Honestly, I think this is a waste of resources, but without trying and seeing, we will never know. My other thoughts is that Xeron would be decent with Mermaid and Regnancier, but Mermaid was a little tweaked in the global version, and right now, most of the time, your Xeron would face somebody who may have Judicator in their formation, so Mermaid kind of falls off in that sense, because most of her buff fades before the invincibility wears off, and many other units would be better buffers than her in that sense. I am unsure how much Regnancier would add to the formation though, since they may tweak some units more. There is a possibility that they may have a good synergy, but Venom Spawn may not be too far from us from the release of this video, probably a good 2 or 3 months. So people really need to be careful with the URs they choose if they're going to play Inferno, since Venom Spawn is a must. And if you won't get it on release, he may only appear 2 or 3 months after, which is quite a long time to wait for its altar to pop up again. So make sure you're somewhat ready when it's released. I think the estimation is about 2 to 4 months from the release of this video. Other than that, most of the time you really want to use Inferno with Dungeon SR+. In other words, Manticore and Beholder. Beholder is slowly falling off of the meta because frankly it just dies before Judicator's immunity fades. So most of the time he's just used to reduce the enemy hero mana, and that's pretty much it. Manticore, however, is one of the more powerful things on the field. He can silence the enemy field, and yes, the entire field, multiple times if he survives. At 5 stars awaken, he is able to silence the enemy field at 2 minutes and 45 seconds, which is quite strong if you ask me. Other possible units in Xeron's formation can be Paladin with Awakening and his weapon. I personally don't have him, but I may put him on my to-do list later in the future, but I am unsure when. Spartan could perhaps be good even as 3 star whenever Devil has his weapon. Devil will die anyway by almost everything in the future. The first time I mean. So having Spartan be the front line to die and boost 20% unit damage and damage reduction may be something useful in the future. Other than that, I think Bone Dragon High Star Awakened can be used instead of one of the SR Plus dungeon units, since the damage reduction would be too good to pass out on, and the rest I'm not entirely sure if there will be anything more useful in the near future, even in the 6 months from now. Most of the units are too specific with their skills and weapons, so aside from adding Paladin and maybe any more castle units to make it survive more, there wouldn't be too much of any difference between Xeron formations than what you see now. Most Dragon Mutaires will want to have Evil Sorceress and at least Manticore in there, so you will have to have substitutes for these in Xeron's formation, if you focus those two like me. In total, for the 3 URs, you will need close to 300,000 diamonds. For Devil currently, you will need about 160,000 diamonds and a surplus Nightmare and Manticore Beholder from Dungeon Faction, who are also SR+. Weapon materials we are not going to count in this cost because some of them will be able to be farmed but very slowly. This is just purely the stars each faction requires to compare in the future with others. So in total, you're looking at about 460,000 diamonds, which turns to 600 to 700,000 diamonds whenever class change devil appears. This is the overall cost for 6-star, 6-star awakened and 6-star double awakened devil, with an additional feature that comes along with the second awakening filled and completed to unlock the 5th skill of the devil. So keep in mind of this total number of diamonds, as we will eventually make a video and compare how much each faction may cost. 600 to 700,000 diamonds worth, and if looking at the formation right now, 2 or 3 SR plus. Also, don't be too scared of these numbers, since we're able to get SSR souls from anywhere and shards with SSR crystals, so this cost goes down quite a lot. Anyways, that's it for this video. I will more or less try to work for a video for every faction in this game. A video that perhaps may last just a little bit longer than the previous ones. Let me know if you find these videos helpful and useful. Thanks for watching and stay safe out there.